Hi, Tom here, and I'm just kicking off the Lean Made Simple book club for the Improvement Starts with ISWI Signal Group. So, first week is about the introduction of the book. Here we are. Great book. Highly recommend people get the physical book. I'm taking Ryan's advice from a recent YouTube video, and I'm highlighting everything as I go through. So this introduction, there's a few different purposes. It serves a purpose of being a before and after. Is the first thing I'm taking away from this, where it describes Ryan's 16 frantic hours of working every day to have like a bad result of unhappy customers and late deliveries and quality problems and so on. He was really struggling until he had his road to Damascus moment when he was on the internet looking for how to improve production and came across Paul Akers and saw a new approach. And something I just want to highlight here, it's my first learning point, that often I've seen people that are successful at implementing this form of lean, they have a rock bottom, and they've suffered some pain, and that it motivates them to stick at this, because it's a simple than it's ever been before with its 12 steps. But it's not an easy process. You have to really apply yourself to this, especially in the early stages, until you get momentum built up. So first thing, I think everybody that I know that has been successful like this, including myself, had to have some pain. So for me, my version of pain, in my first 2-second lean company, we wanted to implement lean. You've got no budget, you've no resources, you've no team. And when I came across this approach, it was a pure light bulb moment for me. And yeah, I went hell for leather at it because there was no other way of doing things. So that was my first learning point, and interesting to self-reflect into the group. Which of you guys, what was your rock bottom moment? And if you want to share that with the group, what lit the fire in you to go down this path? I'd love to hear it. So next is about what the book isn't and isn't. So Ryan describes what lean is for him, which is basically taking the waste out of any process, taking the non-value out of it, keeping it really simple. That's the next learning point I want to highlight. I'm very often asked, because I do lots of one-to-ones with people who want to know about lean and how to do lean, and very often I was asked this question yesterday by a bunch of guys on my life. They were making marble products somewhere in the middle of America. Missouri, I think it was. And how do we teach people about waste and to see waste? What I do these days and what I counsel people is just focus on the struggle. Don't get too technical, especially in the early days, about the 8 wastes. That's for further down the road. To start off with, what I find to be super successful, just focus on the struggle. Things that are hard. What's the hardest thing you did today? What really bugs you, tease you off, or whatever? Especially in the early days of your lean process of implementation, just focusing and keeping it really, really simple is so important. And I'm interested to hear from the group what you guys have learned and how you teach people about waste. I'm really interested to hear that. So that's the second group participation point. So into the book. The book is really a culture playbook. It's not a detailed, like, how to lay your tools out and how to do lean, at the task level. It's all about building culture. So this has been about getting total participation in the group. And when I first came across this, the big light bulb moment for me was that the traditional approach with doing lean with the consultants and their lots of money is to have a small group of people who kind of inflicts lean on the rest of the organization. That's what I've seen. Where with this, it's all about getting that total participation going. So, that for me is another thing I'd like to ask you guys about. What tools, what techniques have you used to get that participation level up? So that's the third point. And then finally, I think what Ryan's done here with just the finishing off chapter. Yeah, just the last few lines of the chapter is Ryan, or the introduction, which is basically what Ryan set out to do. And I tried to do it, but not as simply as Ryan done, was lay out 12 steps that to give you that pathway. 2-second lean has always been a good what. My book tried to be a how, and it's a good how. It's a deeper dive how than Ryan's book, I would hazard, without in any way comparing and better, worse, whatever. Ryan's book is the best in the world at laying out simply what are the 12 steps you need to do to get a culture, to get a lean culture. And that's what we're going to dive into in the 12 steps going forward. So yeah, that's my video for introduction. I'm going to post it early, so we'll get a full week at it. The 3 things that I think would be really interesting to hear from the 12 people in week 1, in particular. There's 13 people, but yeah, we'd want everybody to participate who hasn't asked for it to be excused for whatever reason to post us a video about what they think. But I'm particularly interested to hear about rock bottom moments, particularly interested to hear about how you are teaching waste, and third, how you're getting total engagement from your people. If you can give us feedback about anything that you took when you deep dived into the introduction, like I just did, because I've had this book on my shelf for, well, I've read it and I've listened to it, but I didn't deep dive into it like I did because I knew I had to for you guys. And it's a really good process. I really recommend that we all do this. There's a lot of gold here. So looking forward to week 1 of our learning club.